Welcome, welcome, welcome to Digital Signage That Matters. I've been looking forward to this session, so we are going to go through some announcements and then hop on in. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am the founder CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting and your host for today. So if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, no, you do not get a certificate, but yes, you do get the knowledge. And right under the video, you're going to find the resource for today. So after you watch this webinar, you're going to want to run to get the resource for today because it is a good one. So what do we have coming up? We have digital skills for everyday tasks, talking about Google Sheets and Google Docs. And it is sponsored by Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, but every single person is welcome. So definitely register to get that link. And then we have enhanced picture book interactive read alouds with primary sources. So we have our resident school librarian Jane coming on back to tell us more about using picture books. And then we have Beyond the Basics, practical AI for everyday teaching. So we also have Michelle coming on back. We have some friends of the EA family coming on back to teach us more skills. That will be April 12th. I am going to be at ISTE. It's the first combined ASCD and ISTE. I will be there. This is what I have going on right now. And this flyer usually, gets added on to. So that's what I have going on. If you're going to be at ISTE, come see me. All right. We always, always, always have our self-paced online courses going on. You want test prep in Google, level 1, level 2, SLLA, educational leadership tasks, support time. I just need to talk to you about whatever. We always have self-paced online courses going on. And know that you can get to all of these at edalex.net/events. Go there, register for everything. Then, let's have a talk. We are starting to schedule the summer webinars, summer and fall webinars. So if you want to say, hey, Desiree, I would love a webinar on blah, 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 let me know. Fill out that form and let me know what you want to see a webinar on. Or if you want to present a webinar, remember we have first-time presenters, we have international presenters that's been doing this for their whole life. It doesn't matter. If you want to share your knowledge with other teachers, I am happy to have you on EA webinars. So if you want to teach a webinar or you want to see a webinar, let us know on the form at edalex.net/events. Woo! All right, I know that was a lot. You can get all that information in one place. So I want to know why does digital signage matter? Like, what about it should I even focus on? So that's what we are about to learn right now. Digital signage that matters.
Well, thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate you using your time for this. And by the end of this presentation, I hope to convince you that this is not making digital signage for your school is not just a collateral duty that you've been assigned with, but is a central duty, something that can really, really transform your school. And I'm going to show you ways to save time doing it and ways to make it matter and have a more positive impact. All right. With that said, I've got some questions for you. All right. So here they are. Please put your answers in the chat and just let me know if I don't give you enough time to put those in there, but let's fire it up. All right. Here's our agenda. About that first two. A little bit about me, my opinions, and we're going to talk about legal and ethical and accessibility issues. We're going to talk about time saving. We're going to talk about good software for this work. And we're going to talk about finding professional time-saving content. And I think there's a moral imperative. Here's where it gets into opinions. But we'll talk about that also. All right. Here's my question for you. What is your primary role at school? Teacher, administrator, librarian? I'll give you a second to put that in the chat. My next question to you is, how much time do you spend making these signs? About it, because the time that you spend making these signs are really part of your workday. So your school is really actually paying for you to do this. It's not free, right? It's actual work that you're doing.
And we do have some responses in the chat. We have a librarian, we have a couple of teachers, and we have a secretary in here. And someone responded, it takes me all week to do this. I'll work on it a little each day.
Cool. So next question is, what is your school getting in return for its financial investment in the signs and the investment of your time? That's certainly something we don't get back. I mean, your school may get more money next year in the budget, but your time doesn't come back to you. What are we getting for that effort?
We have a response that says, I never considered this. I've never thought about it, but I don't think we get anything back in return.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So the instruments, the screens, the monitors took money to purchase. They take an ongoing payment in order to have the content management system and the access of controlling the actual monitors that were purchased. They're taking your time, so getting nothing back is really sad. I would love for you to get more back. And I want to tell you about my school because I think my school is a model for the potential, for the actual power of school digital signage. All right. So let's in a minute. Come on. So I believe that if, this is my personal belief, I believe that if your school signage is not improving school climate, then it is draining, wasting money and time. Signage is about more than the lunch menu and more than announcements of where the school's drama club is going to meet. Or it can be so much more. And once again, I am going to ultimately make the argument that it is a moral imperative that you actually do more with your signage. With that said, let's get to talking about me briefly. Like, who's this lady all enthusiastic about digital signage? So Furahi Achebe, I've been teaching for a decade in an urban school system in New Haven, Connecticut. And I was a digital innovator for PBS, and that's where I met the wonderful Dr. Alexander at this particular meeting of PBS digital innovators from all across the country. I'm also a National Geographic Grafsner Fellow, and they sent me as an ambassador on one of their expeditions to Iceland. And it was absolutely wonderful. And here's me and a scientist at the Arctic Circle. It was really fun in that the scientists let me kind of like follow along on one of these missions to see how the conditions for the whales were in the oceans near Iceland. The third award is a TAPS award, and a TAPS is basically an award for being an outstanding teacher in the district, and it is also serves as nomination for Teacher of the Year. I didn't get Teacher of the Year, but it was just an honor to be nominated for that. All right, so the things that I teach are broadcasting chemistry and ninth grade physical science. And I also own a small digital media company. If you look at my little background, my little school sign, you'll see these little chemistry flasks on it and calculators. I mean, this is real. This is what we're working with just about every day in my classrooms, right? Between chemistry and physical science. So I really should have had an item on there that pertains to the graphic design. Maybe that would be the backgrounds, but I also will show you a lot of graphic design work. All right, so I want to go to this sign for a minute. In my school, I feel like we are using the signs, our digital signage, and really, really optimizing it. We have goals for our school, and we put the goals into signage. And then we have a culture where the teachers are encouraged to talk about those goals and the stuff that they're encouraged to reinforce the materials of the signage. So for instance, we're a ruler school. If you know what ruler is, it is a program created by Yale where young people are supposed to analyze and stay in touch with their emotions at the moment and kind of learn to take a step back, resolve negative or inappropriate emotions, maybe, and so let me give you an example. A person may be feeling a little bit of anger because of an insult that they felt that they had in the classroom. The person is supposed to be able to acknowledge that, take a step back, and look at the strategies that they have for resolving that so that they can go on with their day with more focus and actually with more positive emotions. So we're teaching our students how to evaluate and handle their emotion. And in our signage, we have quite a bit of ruler information, how to recognize anxiety, how to recognize sadness, what to do about it. And so that's one way that we're seeing it in the signage, and teachers are reinforcing that. What can you do when you're feeling this way? All right, would you like a moment to do that? Just saying things that are helpful. But beyond that, and I'm going to tell you what's 10 times more powerful than that. We have our ninth grade students designing our digital signage. Now, all the signage that I'm showing you right now is from my private company. I don't want to bring my students' signage into this, especially because I didn't ask them permission. So I'm only showing you signage made by my company. But with that said, my students make signage and they get on the morning announcements and talk about things that pertain to our school culture and climate goals. So imagine being a 12th grader sitting in your class and having a ninth grader come on the announcements and say, let's be kind today because you never know what other people are going through. It's powerful. Just this week, a student in the ninth grade got on the announcement and said, progress report night is next week. Let's finish up all of our assignments so we're proud of our grades then. There's something powerful about the word let's. That means I'm your peer. It's you and me doing this. That connectedness is absolutely real and powerful, more powerful than what a teacher, the administrators, the principal could say. To have someone in your age group modeling and stating that they care about academic progress and academic goals means a lot. So if you just take a look at this sign that is here, this one says, thank you for showing up today. As you get brighter, the future of our community gets brighter. This is the end of the day sign. We want people to know that we want them in schools, that school is the place for them to be. We are experiencing as a nation chronic absenteeism in levels that have not been seen before. There are still wide clusters of students that have not come back after the pandemic, and we've been back in school for years now. So we can target chronic absenteeism by making people feel loved in schools, cared about in schools, valued in schools. Now, let me present a little bit of data on that, just to help us understand the importance of this collateral duty. All right, let me go. Jeez. Here's it. All right. Programs that improve school climate and promote connectedness help to reduce the risk of suicide, violence, bullying, and substance abuse. Now, I hope I haven't scrambled my signs. So one that I pull up is actually going to give some data on what we're facing in terms of those factors. Let's see. Right. So According to a 2024 report from the CDC, 39% of students experience persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. 28.5% experience poor mental health. And we're seeing 1 in 5, 1 in 5, 20% seriously considered attempting suicide. And 9.5% attempted suicide. And I know this is a big to carry, but I personally believe that because children are with us all day, we need to do something about it. All right, so let's go on and see. School connectedness is a big deal. According to a CDC report, school connectedness is the second most important protective factor against emotional distress, disordered eating, and suicide ideation. We are a big deal. We are a big deal, and we have power. We have power to help students. We have to be careful so that we don't cause harm, but we have power to help students. So, as you can see here, school connectedness is basically making students feel cared about. We can do that. And there's no downside to making students feel like you care. And we can help students to help each other make students feel cared about. In my morning announcements with the students, I am having them express, like I call it my, but they are going there expressing. We have these themes we can talk about. We have just the broad themes, and kids get down there and talk about what's in their heart. But our broad themes are ruler in terms of social emotional, connectedness, kindness, the importance of reading, the importance of math. Those are our themes. And belonging is a big part of that. Um, so we want to help kids to speak about this verbally, speak about this in the signage. We want to create signage that encourages connectedness. My personal opinion is these mounted screens in our hallway are the antidote for those screens that our students are using obsessively. Those screens are damaging mental health. There's a lot of data about it. I'm sure you guys know about that. But our screen is the antidote in that our screens help children to realize the importance of connection, the importance of limiting their screen time, and the importance of their academic goals. So let's look at some of the signs that have shown in my school. My school has a combination of signs from my personal company, which I volunteered to be used in my school, and signs made by the students. This year, it's the ninth grade and the 10th grade making the signs. The ninth grade has been making them in the spring, the second semester of the school year, and the 10th grade has been making them in the fall. Here we go. So let's go back and go look at some of these. So here's a top tip one. It can be beneficial to help to stop and take a break. Sometimes we're so rushed, we don't even stop to breathe. We're holding our breath and we don't even know it. These gentle reminders, I mean, a person may see the sign and it may not even matter to them because they're in such a hurry or whatever. But here's the thing. When these signs are relevant to you in the moment, you're having your stressed moment, you're having your moment of shallow breathing, that's when you'll actually see this. Most students are not even cognizant that they're seeing all of these signs. And they don't really realize they're seeing them till something strikes a chord with them. So here's a little top tip. If you look at this down here, when you give advice, this is popping way down into the legal. It's good to say for general information only. Seek advice that's specific to you. I spent time with two different attorneys before really launching into this signage. And that was the advice given by both. When you give direct advice, make sure that you're saying seek advice that is specific to you. Okay? Here's another sign. This is a problem, right? I don't know about your school, but we see much drama based on he said, she said on social media. It goes into the school and sometimes causes arguments and sometimes causes drama and sometimes breaks up friendships. And so I think it's really important to have them do this. All right. So it's a little bit different. It's it's giving someone a suggestion. So I'm feeling like I did not need to put that disqualifier right here because it says you may want to consider the consequences. Consider. That's a little bit different. But let's go on and we might see some suggestions. Here's one. Did you know frequent social comparisons often lead to negative self-perception as we tend to focus on our own perceived shortcomings as compared to others' achievements? There is data out right now that indicates this is what's driving girls' depression and girls' suicide ideation. Time spent on social media makes them feel like their faces, their bodies, their lives could never measure up to what they see, could never be acceptable. And so we need to work on that. We need to work on it. So here's one where there is a suggestion. Potential solution, focus on gratitude for what you have accomplished and for the positive aspects of your life. But look, it says a potential solution, and see, these are judgment calls. I put for informational purposes only, seek advice. All right. And so it would be remiss for us not to find the best information for our young people and help them to walk themselves out of the depression and sadness that exists today. It would be remiss for us not to do that. But in doing that, we have to inform those who are more delicate or those who might be harmed by this advice to actually seek their own advice. Because we don't know, only they can judge that, right? All right. It's one. Kindness is a theme in my school, and my students make a lot of kindness slides. Moving on. So a student who was our valedictorian last year found a quote on the signage that worked its way all the way into their valedictorian speech. And here's what the text of the valedictorian speech says. In all of our endeavors, obstacles will certainly come. Yet as the quote I saw once in our very school said, it was on the digital signage. And a child put this quote on their sheet. It was a student that put this quote in the signage. I am not smart enough to even know that worrying like this was a big factor in the minds of our youth. So here it is. Worrying doesn't empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. So one would think that this person who is ahead of everyone else, who knew that this was a factor and this slide would be transformative to them. So the more student input you can get on your signage, the better. There'll be some tips coming up on how to make it easier to use student signage. We did do this slide. All right, we did the slide. See my order. Okay, safety and accessibility. I hope that I've convinced you that signage matters, and I hope I've encouraged you to really jump into this. So let's talk about the safety factors and accessibility factors in doing digital signage. All right, accessibility. Not everyone reads at the same rate. In my school, we are a K through 12. And the signage is there, and all groups of age groups see it, even though it's primarily designed for high school students or by high school students. And the high school students create signage that fits the elementary school students, that fits their reading level and everything. But we want to time our signage. Every time we make a sign, I tell my students that they need to read it aloud twice, timing it with a timer. And that's how many seconds that it takes for the slowest readers to read it. You really want to keep it up that long, and it's going to feel annoyingly long for certain people. But here's the thing. You never know what people are transitioning to while the digital monitor is up. They may have just walked into view of it. They may have just turned their head toward it. So it is good to let it hang around a little bit. And it also makes a relaxing pace for the signage. Check your monitors for buzzing sounds. This one came from feedback from a survey from schools that are scattered different places in the country. These things buzz, but that can be very annoying for someone that's sensitive to it. Now, we have to look into making sure that our photosensitive, people who have photosensitive epilepsy, are protected from this. Let's go take a look at the details. Let's take a second to drill down on that. Um, so we're always concerned about flashes in video games, right? Flashes on monitors, flashes in those places that like places like casinos where there's lights buzzing and everything like that. Here's the facts. So if you're flashing at rates between 3 flashes per second or 55 flashes per second, you can induce a seizure in those who are photosensitive. Most of us don't have to worry about this. The main thing that I want you to take home about this is don't make any transitions less than 3/10 of a second. Okay? Or let's not say that. Let's say 1/3 of a second. So that's 0.33 seconds, right? We want to make, and I have all my transitions set to 1/2 second minimum. But also, please be cautious when you have letters animate in if they are taking a big part of the screen. If they're taking 10% of the screen, 5% of the screen, it is okay for them to animate in. But sometimes people animate in things that start out bigger than the screen and then shrink down. Make sure that does not happen in less than 1/3 of a second. See what I'm saying? If you're animating in, make that animating in take a second. People got the time. They got a second to wait. Okay. Um, Make sure your backgrounds are not too busy and changing too fast, right? Patterns can trigger. Don't have patterns be your whole screen. Now, a lot of us have signage just like what you're seeing here in my screen with stuff in the background. And yes, this is busy, but it is not occupying the bulk of the screen. It's when you're occupying a lot of the screen that this busyness causes problems. So if you do have busyness, keep it still, right? Make sure that it is going at a rate of less than 1/2 second. Slow it down. So any changes happen over less than over more than 1/2 second. With that said, let's go to other legal things. So, in terms of your legal obligations in doing this, please remember I talked about the commands, right? Um, if you need to make a command, and sometimes it is beneficial to encourage children to try to make a connection today or to really, really try to work hard today, or try to wrap up the marking period strong, try to finish strong, try to maintain our momentum in the middle. We sometimes need, for the benefit of our students, to give commands, but put in that disclaimer: for informational purposes only, seek advice. All right. Now, pictures. A lot of times this is something is shown in schools. We want to give honor to everyone who won an award, or if there's a newspaper article about someone, we want to post it in there. Our football player made the newspaper. We want to put it in there. With that said, you want to make sure you get both the students and the parents' permission. Because whereas the parents are the one who can legally, you don't even need to sign an image release inside a school, right? Because oftentimes that's part of your beginning of the year paperwork. Oftentimes it has an embedded image release related to any school activity. You want to ask the parent because you don't want to do any actual harm. It's not about kind of like CYA or anything like that. It is about the parent knows the student, and the student, and they know how sensitive their child is to any on that may result as from the actual sharing of the photo. But it is also good to ask the student, because they're the ones that could be actually harmed if they're picked on and it kind of really negatively impacts them. So ask both. Take the time to ask both. And I'm going to make a suggestion that you really make sure you're using photos where they look good, right? In your subjective opinion. So try to use that school photo if you're talking about someone who has just received honors, or trying to use that image where they're receiving the award, where they're smiling and looking good and everything like that. That's the kind of image you want to be putting on the boards. You don't want to put that image where they're grimacing on the ground after the touchdown or whatever like that. So also, if you, so with that said, here's one more suggestion. If you can, and I know it feels like we're going overboard here, but you just want to eliminate and preempt and have an idea of how a student is going to feel about the photo being shown, and so that you don't have to take it down midweek, right? You're going to have this photo up all week. You want to keep it there. You don't want to go in the middle and pull it out of your playlist. So you want to get both the students and the parents' permission before. Oh, we talked about that. Sorry. What you really want to do is, if you have the opportunity and you know the student, and the student that you are showing the image to is in your class, you want to tell the student, I'm going to show your photo. I just want to show your photo to the class because we're so proud of you. Show it. Because what you're doing is you're getting an idea inside of a single classroom what the responses will be, how that student will be picked on, if anyone has any smart alecky comments to make. You will have an idea of that. The student will have an idea of that. And the student will know if they can take it. That's important before it is blasted in front of your school of 1,000. So you can send that photo to the homeroom teacher and tell the student ahead of time, we're going to show this to your homeroom class, okay? Just bear with us. We're going to show it to your homeroom class. Show it, because a student may give consent, not anticipating the little snide comments that are coming, and then you find that they can't take the snide comments. So if you can do that at all, it's worthwhile to do. That is when you're showing individual pictures. If you're showing a class picture, it's a class picture. We can't stop a class picture because one person doesn't want to be in the picture and there are 20 others in there. All right. Last thing, if you intend to share your science outside of school, make sure that you're using public domain photos and you're properly quoting others. You're using your quotation marks. You're adding your references. You're telling where you got the information from. Okay? People will share media through different ways. When you're sharing media, you could be in violation of copyright laws. Um, so you got to be super careful about that. I teach my children on an early basis to respect copyright laws, even when we're working just internally in our school. We learn the rules, we learn where they should be getting photos, like Pixabay and other free sources, Wikimedia Common, two most common places to get free images, right? Pixabay, Wikimedia Common. Um, if you're going to be sharing them outside of your school. All right. So now we know the legal concerns. Now we know the safety concerns. Now we know the accessibility concerns. So let's briefly talk about how to save time on this. So let me explain to you. When I first started doing this, there was no company that I could find consistent school footage from. Our students were going to Google and making all of the slides themselves, pulling up images, going to Wikimedia Commons, getting those images, putting them down, and everything. I was spending 5 hours a week correcting spelling errors, fixing the proportions on pictures that they had stretched wrong, stretching them wide instead of by the corners so that the aspect ratio is maintained. I was fixing a whole lot of stuff. It takes a lot of time to do digital signage. You can have your kids make content, but you still got to correct the content, right? So I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and it says, if you're using students' content, let them check each other's stuff. This is what you want to do. You want to give them if you can, if they're in a club, have them do it because they want to communicate properly. If they're in a class, even more leverage. You can have a grade for making the slide. You can make your rubric with the creativity at the center of it, right? And then you can have a small proportion of that go to their editing of another slide that belongs to their partner. And what that does is it puts teeth into their corrections. So they have to correct it so that when it ultimately reaches you, or they have to tell their partner to correct it so that by the time it reaches you, some outside eyes have looked at it to make sure spelling is correct and that the pictures are not distorted and grammar is correct. Please encourage your students to use free resources like the portion of Grammarly that is free to correct their language, their usage of words. And also, I would encourage you to make sure that students are not plagiarizing stuff. It's just a bad practice. A lot of them have gotten so used to cutting and pasting things, and they can paraphrase. They can certainly learn to paraphrase, or if it is a direct quote, let's put it in quotation marks and seriously check to see the person who created the quote. Here's another little tip. A lot of times students will give quotes that say author unknown. Make sure that they have really checked by putting that direct quote into their Google browser, and the Google browser will got grandchildren in the downstairs, sorry. The Google browser will tell them exactly where the quote came from. Insane son-in-law downstairs. All right. Then also, so make sure that you are not doing the work of designing or creating artistic matter inside of your content management system. So whatever came with your screens has not is probably cannot compete with the free Adobe products, Adobe Express or Canva, because that is the main thing that they do. They exist to help you create good and beautiful content. Your content management system exists to help you get it and posted at a specific moment in time on your school screens. So while it does provide software to allow you to make images and edit them and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to take you longer. I have found the systems to be awkward inside of the content management. So I like to handle all my work outside of the content management system. And then I like to get a picture of it by downloading the JPEG of it. And then I want to take that JPEG and put it into my content management system way up. If I want to take several images, I make them all in either Adobe Express or Canva, and then I will make those into photographs, and then I will put them into a PowerPoint presentation, which is a series of pictures. Because I know that when I get them into the content management system, the fonts may change, and definitely the positions and the size of the text will change. It doesn't translate exactly. So please make sure that you're importing just the JPEG or just a series of JPEGs that have been laid down on a set of slides inside of either PowerPoint or Google Slides. That way, there'll be no surprises when your content is scrolling, a missing word at the end, because that text box did not contain that word. Sometimes text boxes don't translate well when you go from Google Slides into the content manager. Anything that's outside of the box could end up disappearing. So please be super careful on that. My last One of my last time saving tips to you is you should only make slides that are specific to your school. Only the lunch menu. Only make stuff that is specific to your school's social emotional learning goals. If you're encouraging everyone, you're having a campaign this week, phone-free day, put that in your announcement. Yes, take the time to make that slide. But if it doesn't pertain to you, grab it from elsewhere. And also let those sides sometimes stay up for more than one day, because that repetition, seeing it every day, drives home a messaging. We have a sign up at my school, and it has our logo, and it says, "We rise together." It's our slogan. It's there every single day. But that's another 10 seconds that we don't have to make every day. It's hanging out for 10 seconds every day. It's always in the deck. Also, what I think that you should do is you should use a playlist. You don't want to get up every morning and open your content management system and go find signs to put in there, and then stick it onto the screen. In a week's time, you will have all 5 weekdays in that playlist. You also may want to have a sign that only plays for the first hour of the school day, and a different sign that you stick in the bottom of your school day that only plays the last hour. So all day you're playing mostly one set of things, but you're playing the whole one set of slides, your whole deck of 5, plus your good morning slide in the morning and your goodbye slide or time for reflection slide at the end of the day, plus all 5 of your signs. So think of using a content management system playlist so that it can take your work up to the next level and make it so that your content is relevant even down to the time of day. All right. But the bottom line, we have students with us all day. If we are blessed enough to have a school that requires them to turn off their phones, There is collectively, there is no other group of people that has your students' attention more than us, especially if their phones are off. And for that attention, let's help them to grow. Let's help them to stay motivated, and let's help them to find their peace and contentment. And I want to compare signage to a greeting card. A greeting card has information in it. It's written and printed. When you open it up, it can say something that touches you. But there is something about the humans in the building re-messaging and amplifying that message, just like a real human delivering that card with a hug, that makes it even more touching, even more powerful. So make multi-dimensional campaigns. Get your students and your teachers and your entire community involved. All right. So with that said, here is a real profound comment. There's no health without mental health. Mental health is too important to be left to the professionals at home alone, and mental health is everyone's business. And it is certainly our business. There is, when they are in our building for that 7 hours, right, we are taking the bulk of their attentiveness. After that, the rest of the time is divided among a bunch of different things, but they're not doing anything else consecutively as long as they are in our building. We got them for 7 hours. No one else gets their undivided attention or even their split attention between cell phones for 7 hours. Except some people do stay up all night and play video games. I'm seeing a lot of that, but you know what I mean. So let's see what we can do to help them. Now, I want to quickly talk about our media. And because you are here today, our media is available to you for free. All you have to do is write me at info@schoolclimatescience.com. Every day we put out 5 generic slides that talk about some of the social emotional issues through the quotes that from the students' heroes. And we have words to draw the information to draw their eyes in. So just let's look at a typical day's skeds. We call these skeds. These are school comprehensive edutainment dailies. So every day we're sending out a week's worth of these at a time, and they last about a minute, but it's a minute long loop that all you need to do is put your lunch sign, and the theater group is going to be meeting in room 210. Your announcements after. So let's take a look. Here's our word of the day. And every day we send out word of the days. Just know that next year this will be paid content. This year we're looking for beta testers to provide us feedback in return for saving time. This can be received as a video, which you just stick into your timeline, and then you're just sticking your lunch menu in there. Trivia, people love being asked questions on these screens. They do. That brings their eyes in, that makes them interact trying to answer these questions. So there it is. Back to the beginning signs. So I'm going to pause that. Um, yes, from our surveys of this in schools, they love question of the day. They love the trivia questions. They love being drawn in. I have even seen people inside of meetings, like teachers, just talking and having a conversation, and they'll look up and see a question up there. They'll answer the question and go right back to the meeting. And I am not certain that they even knew that they subconsciously broke with the meeting, answered the question of the sign, and came back. It's insane. So this signage is engaging. And it really, really covers some of the social, emotional, and motivational topics that students could benefit from hearing. So if you're interested, hit me up, info@schoolclimatescience.com. The last thing is I would like for you to, let me see, I would like for you to join our Facebook group. So I guess there are no more signs. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop sharing. Join our Facebook group. The name, well, put that back up because it's been on the signage all the way through. Um, so let's go back up. Down here at the very, very bottom of the screen, our Facebook group is School Digital Signage Managers Group. You can come to that group, find ways of getting much free media, and also find tips and tools to actually do this more efficiently. I know it is, I believe it is a central duty, but here's the thing. It's been, in terms of your time, been assigned as a collateral duty, and you may have so many other duties on your plate. We can help you. We can share information inside of this group that will save you time, information, and access to media. So please join us. I thank you for your kind attention. Are there any questions?
That was really, really awesome. There were so many things that you pointed out that I just had never thought about digital signage in that way. I just kind of go in, I see the digital signage. Sometimes it's just like the same four slides going over and over again. And then other times people have like really nice signage. It looks like they put work into it. But I never thought about the thinking that needs to go into it and how it can truly affect the culture of our school. I love that you gave like even some of the legalities. Like I wouldn't have thought about not just saying something without saying, reach out more for help or look up your what you're going to need. Just really good information. Just information you don't really hear every day. And I 100% appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I am really delighted to share it. I think we can start a gentle revolution of school culture and make it so that it surrounds our students in love and warmth. And please, I want to use my tools to help anybody to do that.